What are Reddit stories if not a conversation about relationships? And arguably, the most complicated relationship is families. I have them, you have them, we all have family, whether they're present in our lives or not. Family is very complicated because we did not choose for them to be our family. They just kind of are, and you can choose to distance yourself from them, but no matter who you are, family is such a complicated relationship, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. And so today I have picked out multiple Reddit stories that have families involved in the situation. And so let's get started. Starting off, am I the asshole for not telling my parents that the event they were missing was my wedding? That is complicated. So I, 27 female, have a younger brother, Mike, 21 male. He is the definition of a man-child and mama's boy, always complaining, always expecting others to bow to him, just overall an asshole. Ever since he was born, my parents fussed over him for everything. He's not special needs or had a traumatic birth or anything of the sort. He was just born. And my parents completely discarded me. My mom, 50 female especially. She went from loving mother to one of those boy moms that people make fun of on the internet. Oh God, do I know them.
But that last little boy, it's different.
That tells me all I need to know. My father, 50 male, still showed me love and support, but he's always been too much of a coward to stand up to my mother and let me win at least once. The only one who stood for me was my grandpa, 76 male, who always called my parents out on their bullshit and never liked my brother. I remind him of his late wife, my grandma, and we have a very special bond, but he lives on the other side of the country and I never see him often. Mike knows our mom prefers him and loves to shove it in my face. Because of this and his behavior, we've always been at odds. He's spoiled, a brat, and an awful human. I can't remember how many times I ended up in trouble for things I did better than him or for things he framed me with. His only talent are football skills. He won a scholarship to a nice college out of state. My parents didn't spend a dime on my education because apparently my fund had been used to cover expenses after a fire. Just for me to discover years later that said money were given to Mike to buy a car and a house. This is already really depressing. Okay. It's a public university that I met Lucas. He was the first person I was really drawn to there. Of course, I met new people who are now my dearest friends, and thanks to them and Lucas, who was my best friend for years before we got together, I managed to move out of my parents' house. Now, both Lucas and I are well known in our fields and have very good salaries. Yay! Now, to the main issue. Lucas proposed to me a year ago. We're very private people, so we didn't post it on social media or anything. And when I told my parents, they dismissed it with a, "That's nice." I actually cannot fathom telling your parents that you're engaged and they go, "That's nice." Okay? What do you mean? She followed it up with, "I'm starting to think they downright didn't listen to me at all." We decided that we wanted a nice but simple ceremony and reception with our friends and relatives. Lucas convinced me to invite my parents and brother, but they never responded to the invite. And whenever I went to visit and began to talk about my wedding without mentioning it was a wedding, my mom would always speak over me and about my brother's accomplishments and wild adventures. At one point, I got fed up with it and interrupted my mom to tell her that there was an event I was planning to organize whose date was unmovable. She told me that they couldn't attend because my brother was playing the last game of the season the very same day and wanted them to be there. Of course, this favoritism didn't surprise me. They missed my ballets, shows, and both my high school and university graduation for things about him. At this point, I wanted to be petty. I told both my parents that it wasn't a problem to miss this event, purposely omitted the fact that this event was my wedding, and didn't insist further. Flash forward to a few weeks ago, I got married. It was perfect. My family, Lucas's family, and our friends were all there, and we had a blast. My grandpa was very happy to give me away, and it was just perfect. My relatives asked me multiple times why my parents weren't there with us. I was honest and simply said they had my brother's game to attend and couldn't come. They gave me a few looks, and my grandpa was visibly angry for a while, but otherwise, nothing strange happened. After the reception, Lucas and I left for our honeymoon and were phone free for the whole duration of our trip. But once we got back back, we discovered that a shitstorm was welcoming us home. I turned my phone on and was unable to even unlock it before a storm of notifications popped up. Most of them were my mother and my brother. Mike called me all sort of nasty names and insulted me because apparently one of my paternal aunts posted the photos of the wedding on Facebook and captioned it with a very obvious dig at my parents, especially my mom, for missing the wedding. The post apparently went viral in my parents' community, and they've been publicly shamed for their mistreatment of me. Oh no, that sucks. It also turns out that my grandpa personally visited my parents to go on a tirade to shame my father, his son, to the point of tears. And this seemed to be my father's breaking point because he was so distraught for missing his only daughter's wedding and for his father's disapproval that he finally rebelled against my mom and is threatening divorce unless she makes it up to me. Finally, I think that's the reason why my mom has been spamming my phone with messages, at first insulting and threatening, and then downright pitiful, full of begging and pity parties. Now, I'm at home with my husband deciding how to approach the situation. Most of my relatives, even those I didn't invite to the wedding, reached out to apologize for what I went through and to claim they had no idea what was happening at home. Can't blame any of my relatives. They all live with my grandpa on the other side of the country or in another state. But my mom's sister and friends are belittling me for not telling my mom about the wedding because now she's inconsolable at the thought of having missed my wedding. Personally, I think she just claims that to save face, but I'm not sure. The latest messages from my father and mother seem extremely saddened and hurt for missing my wedding. Now my family is divided on 3 fronts. The majority who is sticking by my side, my maternal aunts shaming me for hurting my mom's feelings, and my maternal grandparents who are adamant that I forgive my mom in the light of her anonymity. You guys slowly realizing that I can't read, I'm sorry. And my maternal grandparents who are adamant that I forgive my mom in light of her atonement. My best friends are telling me not to listen to them. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Holy shit. First of all, did they not know about the wedding? I know that she told them that there was a big event going on and she didn't specify that it was her wedding, but it says right here, we decided that we wanted a nice, simple ceremony and reception with our friends and relatives. Lucas convinced me to invite my parents and brother, but they never responded to the invite. So they did know about the wedding. They did know about the wedding. They're just mad now that they are looking bad to the community. Like, that literally is all it is. They were invited to the wedding. They did not care to RSVP. They didn't even care to show up. I don't think they wanted to in the first place. When she told them that they were engaged, they said, "That's nice." That's nice? You know what's nice is like getting a flower bouquets. You know what's awesome and amazing and like, oh my gosh, congrats, getting engaged. Getting engaged is so huge. I cannot believe that. I love that they got a perfect wedding. Honestly, maybe it was a good thing that they didn't show up because they probably would have found a way to make it all about Mike anyway. So I am happy in that regard. I'm sorry for them that they have to deal with all of this. It really does just seem like the parents are trying to save face now that the community is publicly shaming them, but I think that if that wasn't even a part of the equation, I don't know if they even would be reacting this way or even be like upset at the fact that they missed her wedding. They made an edit on the post and included a lot more information. So they said, "I did inform my parents about my wedding. I sent traditional on-paper invites to all of my guests and was notified that all invites had reached their addresses. I did not receive any answer from my parents and Mike, a few very distant relatives, and some people on Lucas's side. I did reach out to them all through message to double check, and those who hadn't replied to me told me they couldn't come. I asked my parents and brother via text, but they didn't respond. I was left on red. Knowing them and given all the things I had to plan, I didn't bother insisting." So they knew about the wedding. So actually they knew about the wedding and they just literally did not give a fuck. Also, I'm thinking, like, if I was the mom and I, for some reason, was just like totally okay, there's no part of me that even would react this way to a family member's wedding, let alone my own daughter. But I'm just thinking, like, if I got invited to wedding, forgot to RSVP, now my daughter is saying there's a very important event going on, you would be able to connect the dots. The date is there on the mail thing. They probably just threw it out. That's crazy. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's way more information. I didn't repeat the date of my wedding because I had already been told there was my brother's game. Plus, every time I insisted on highlighting my celebration to get an answer, I was always told that it wasn't that important and to not be pissy and a bother. Because some things were simply more important than me, at this point I think it's fair for me to not insist anymore. It's not worth the effort. I didn't keep my wedding a secret. I avoided telling my parents that it was my wedding to see if they would be interested in the slightest. But surprise, surprise, they weren't. Despite this, I did openly talk about my wedding with my aunts and uncles. My mother was in the room with us a few times when I discussed venues or dress shops with my aunt, the Facebook post one, but sometimes mom was on the phone and other times she was just chatting with other people. She never paid attention. When I talked about it during reunion, she smiled and said, "That's great, dear," and then would change the subject. Radio silence on Dad and Mike. I kept in contact with them because, well, at the times I tried to go to NC in the past years, I've been harassed. I tried after my high school bachelor's and master's graduations, to which they never bothered to show up for reasons involving my brother. Every time I was shamed for daring to turn my back on my family by my parents, my brother, my maternal aunts, and my maternal grandparents. I think the turning point here is that all those times Lucas wasn't by my side, we started dating a little after my last attempt at going no contact, and how that I have him here. I feel more confident in my stance. But before that, I wasn't this confident, I think. Is that what that meant to say? As I already stated, on my paternal side lives on the other side of the country and wasn't aware of how they treated me. I did try to expose my parents once at 14. My aunts, uncles, and grandpa reprimanded them. They faked being sorry. And then once home, I got the beating and gaslighting of my life for lying. After that, I kept in contact regularly with my paternal side, but omitting my parents' abuse out of fear, which, to be honest, still haunts me to this day. Only Grandpa knew, but he was always threatened to be alienated from me if I tried anything. My parents and I are not from the same city. I live in a city an hour drive from my parents' small town, and they don't know my new address because once my brother tried to break into my apartment to steal some cash, and my mother backed him up, claiming the siblings share their goods. What is wrong with this family? Now I moved, and I'm sure not to tell them where I live. Yeah, that's smart. Yeah. Well, if you can't tell, it's a whole different day. Whole different hair color, in fact. Do you guys like it? It's red. But I was in the middle of editing this video, and I realized that I only recorded half of it. I don't know what happened, but the video turned off or something. The camera stopped recording, and I only had 25 minutes of footage when I recorded 50 minutes. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. We're here now. I was thinking, okay, well, I guess I'll just scrap the video. But this story was just too juicy. Sorry. While I was reading it, I was like, this is good. This is some good content. And then it was gone. So here we are, making it right. We're going to continue on the story. I feel like I'm kind of cheating because I already know what happened, and I like to come into these like kind of blind, but I did choose another one that I haven't read, which I'm very intrigued to read. So from the top, people, from the top. My parents didn't buy my brother a car and a house before he even started high school. They bought him a car for his 16th birthday and a house near his college when he began freshman year. They didn't spend the money of my fund right away. They just lied to me to use it later for my brother, keeping it stored for later in the meantime. Okay, so that's fucking insane. Is that not fucking insane? That is an insane story. Man, I just wish that we had an update to the situation. I just wish that there was like some more context that we could bring. There's an update! There is an update. There's an update. Again, I already read this. I'm sorry. I cheated. I'm sorry. I didn't know. First of all, I want to thank all of those who were interested in my story and those who wished me and my husband a happy life. I am beyond grateful for your reassuring messages and your love and feedback. The response was overwhelming and beyond what I ever thought it could be. I love you all so, so much. To those who believe my story was fake, I want to say that I'm happy your family life is better than mine, to the point of thinking of my reality as a fantasy, but I'd appreciate if you stopped harassing me in my DMs claiming that I'm writing a fake story for attention. If I've missed a few details in the OG post, it's because I was overwhelmed and crying my eyes out because of my family's harassment. You are not forced to read my story or think it's true, but I think keeping the smallest amount of decency would be nice. People, man, that's not fair. Why would you go to those lengths? Oh, and before diving into the update, let me clarify a few things. Yes, the invitation specifically stated it was a wedding. No excuses. My maternal side of the family didn't come to the wedding. I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear in the OG post. Most of them were busy, and the others just gave me excuses to send a gift but not come. That's it. Don't ask me why they didn't discuss my wedding with my mom. It's not like I live in their brain. My mother's atonement is the fact that she apologized via text. Now, on to the update. Things have been a little crazy this past week. I got off Reddit for a couple days to gather my thoughts. Then I had a lengthy conversation with Lucas about how to proceed. He's been my rock, and I don't think I could ever love him more than I already do. My parents were always a taboo topic, but he hit me with a brutal reality check that I absolutely needed. We reached the conclusion that the fact I kept in contact all this time, stuck around, and couldn't go no contact isn't healthy. I've realized that the real reason I never fully went no contact was that deep down I just wanted their approval. Even now, for once. Pathetic, I know. That is not pathetic. If anybody out there thinks that it's pathetic to want your parents to love you, that is human nature. That is what your brain is wired to do. What's pathetic is being a parent and not giving your love to your kid. That's pathetic. So, just remember that. Pathetic, I know, but it's like a drug being with my parents. They can be loving, funny, caring, and warm until they're not. The little love they give makes you crave for more, and you want their approval so badly you destroy yourself. But that's enough. I promised myself that things are going to change. I've thought about it and decided to start therapy and to go no contact with all those who made an issue about the situation for good this time. After the days dedicated on reflecting on how I feel, I ended up messaging my father to tell him that if he wanted to talk, I would meet with him, Mom, and Mike in a neutral location the following day. He immediately replied and agreed, and we met at the park. My father's sisters and brothers accompanied us for damage control. My father looked distraught and as if he had been crying for a while. My mom looked the same, but I think it was more out of anger and embarrassment. My brother looked annoyed. I told the three of them about how their behavior and preference in regards to my brother always hurt me, and that their abusive behavior made me realize that I didn't want contact with any of them again after that meeting. My mother tried to cut me off multiple times, but my aunt, the one who posted it on Facebook, shut her up every single time. When I asked why they would treat me that way, they didn't know what to say. Of course they don't. Of course they don't. My father kept crying and apologizing without giving me an answer, and my uncle reprimanded him for it. My mother seemed as if she was asking herself that for the first time, but well, in the end, she just said that she simply disliked me. That is fucking brutal. Plain and simple. And my brother? He just liked the attention and making me miserable as some kind of sport. I went on with my questions. When I asked why they never responded to my invite, they claimed to have never received one. I showed them the text, but they denied receiving them. And well, it turns out they hadn't, in fact, received my wedding invitation. When it arrived to their house, they weren't there. The only one in the house was my brother, who had come visiting for the weekend. He saw the invite and, many of you guessed, ripped it up and trashed it. And then, when I texted my parents, he deleted the messages. Wasn't hard to do, according to him. They kept my chat archived and didn't get the notification. So my parents never actually got a formal invitation. I was just distraught. I asked Mike why he would do that, and he just shrugged and claimed that it wasn't as important as the stuff they had in the program anyway. I had to stop Lucas from punching him in the face. Strangely enough, my parents were upset and started reprimanding him. He actually began to throw a tantrum and cry crocodile tears, and I must admit that I was kind of satisfied. But then my mom claimed that all was resolved. There was no need to fuss over a misunderstanding, and it was time for me to clear their name. That set me off, and I interrupted her, telling her that they weren't forgiven at all, that just because Mike trashed the invite, it didn't mean it automatically canceled all their neglect out. Plus, all the time, it was still very obvious that I was having a wedding, and they should have asked about it. You want to know what my mother's response was? She said something along the lines of, I did hear you talking about a wedding of yours, but I just thought you were being delusional and seeking my attention with exaggerated scenarios. That's my impression of the mother. That in my head, that's what she sounds like. She was convinced Lucas didn't actually like me, nor would even marry me. When I tell you I was about to trash her face, do you believe me? Yes. Another thing came up. It turns out my brother didn't have a football game to go to at all. My parents used the fact that my husband, friends, and I know little to nothing about football, we prefer soccer, and the fact I stopped asking about it when Mike would mock me during his time in high school to make up a story to avoid my event. At the time I wrote the original post, I couldn't confirm or deny the presence of a game because my brother has private social media and Lucas and I are blocked, and I foolishly trusted my parents' word. But no, you want to know where they went with that man-child? They went to Disneyland because Mike wanted to go. They used the football story to cover for my brother's 100th tantrum holiday, and apparently they did it multiple times in the past months. At this point, I was just completely burnt out and overwhelmed by this amount of information. The fact that I had been fooled this badly, that I was so gullible, genuinely made my blood boil, and I snapped. I stood up and told my father he was a sad, weak man, unable to stand up for his kids unless his wife approved of it. I told my brother he was a little dipshit, a poor excuse of a man that will not accomplish anything in life, and that he'll always live like the leech he is, baby to the point of uselessness. And to my mom, I just told her she was the worst narcissist, pathetic little woman on the earth, that she didn't even deserve to be addressed and judged for her irrelevance, that not even God could help her out because she's just too rotten. Harsh, I know. Girl, you know what's harsh? Ignoring her child. Like that, that's it. Do what you have to do. Do what you have to do. My mother shot up from her seat to scream at me halfway through my rant to her, but I was just too mad. I shouted at her to shut the fuck up and sit down and listen for once. She got so mad it felt like steam was coming out of her ears. I don't remember much after that, just that I kept talking and talking. It felt as if all my anger and hurt just flooded out. At one point, I'm pretty sure the whole park was silent. I spat at my parents and Mike that I was disowning them all, and if they're smart, they'll think before reaching out again. I took my purse and left with Lucas, Anna, and Francis, leaving my parents and brothers at my aunt's and uncle's mercy. I think at some point, the reality of what I had just learned and said finally hit me, because I ended up having a panic attack on the way home. Lucas was driving, so Anna helped me through it until we stopped in a parking lot to calm me down. I am beyond grateful for their help. Once home, I just fell to bed and went to sleep. I really wanted to go with your guys' advice and post the whole thread on Facebook, but given my work and career, I couldn't expose myself like that. One thing is sharing my story from an anonymous throwaway on Reddit, the other is on Facebook with my name and face plastered everywhere. I couldn't go down that path. Instead, I did something better. I made a folder with all my mother's insults, messages, and awful comments and sent it to the woman in charge of my mom's church. I know I already read this, but that's still so wild to me. It's a tight-knit community my mom worked her ass off to enter in, but that is also extremely judgmental, and being shunned by them is a death sentence. And well, that's exactly what happened. Just like clockwork, the scandal spread like wildfire, going out of the church and reaching the rest of the small town. You can imagine what this means for my mother and father. Because of my little spill, I did find other messages from my maternal side of the family, belittling me for even upsetting their sister or daughter and insulting her. I just didn't care anymore at that point, so I followed your guys' advice and told them that from now on, they will no longer be a part of my life. That they can talk shit all they want, I just won't care. Instead, they should be grateful I don't send their nasty texts to their employers and spouses. I blocked every single one of them, grandparents included, on everything. I did find a lengthy message from my father. He apologized for not being strong enough to face my mother, agreed that what I said was true, and couldn't believe that he had lost so much of my life because of her. He told me he is going to divorce her no matter what my decision will be because he is tired of being controlled. He would like a relationship with me to make up all the years that passed. I did reply to him to tell him that as of now, I really don't want to see him or forgive him. He has replied that he'll try his best to win me back and that he loves me. I replied back that as of now, I find that hard to believe, and then blocked him too. Frankly, his slimy way of trying to have an out from this situation by throwing my mother under the bus is pathetic. At least she was hateful and owned up to it. He is only able to blame others for his choices. I don't want to surround myself with people like that. My mother and brother are blocked similarly to my maternal side. Mike wrote other messages to taunt and insult me, and I just blocked him. My mom threw herself a pity party for being shunned by her community and for her marriage going into shambles, and I just replied with, "Good riddance," before blocking her too. As for my grandpa, he decided to stay with us for a while to stick by my side. He really is the best and has read some of your comments. He isn't going to admit that he's flattered by them. Since then, a few days have passed and all has been quiet. Lucas is spoiling me rotten and I'm starting therapy soon. I know this isn't the drama-filled, revengeful update you hoped for, but well, this is it. I'll let you know if anything changes or evolves. This isn't the drama-filled, revengeful update that we hoped for. This was insane. I don't care if she was harsh. Her parents needed to be told that one way or another, even if it was harsh, because they've been acting abusive to her whole life. And yeah, she's right. It is pathetic that the dad blamed everything on the mom, because it's like, at least take accountability. That is the least that you can do, is be like, you know what? I'm a grown man. I did this too. Like, it wasn't just like his wife that was controlling the entire situation. He was complicit in it, and that is still part of it. That is why I wanted to come back here and read this, because it was just like so insane. It's very satisfying that, you know, all of that happened. It's kind of like karma is doing its job. I'm just really happy for OP that she is able to finally go no contact with them, which seems like it's for the best, and nobody wants to go no contact with their parents, but in this situation it seems like it was really, really necessary, at least for her and what she was saying. And so I'm happy for her about that, but it really does suck about the situation and how her family treated her. Okay, I just wanted to read a short one that sounded fun. So let's get into it. This one I haven't read, so. Am I the asshole for running away because my parents were late to my graduation over a labubu? I, 18 female, am adopted and was adopted as a baby. My parents thought they couldn't have kids, even tried IVF, so when my sister Princess, 10 female, was born, it was a miracle. Everything changed. Princess was spoiled and clearly the favorite. She never got in trouble, was always right, got whatever she wanted, and acted however she wanted. I thought that the theme was family, but I think that the new theme is spoiled brat children. My parents didn't treat me badly though, but if I got one toy, Princess got 5. It sucked. I was jealous and I got in trouble for it. Princess got worse around age 6 when she realized how much she could get away with. She broke my things, hurt others, stole, and hated when anyone else had attention. I became a target. Luckily, I had friends, school, and relatives to support, though it wasn't the worst. I did great in school and joined clubs and sports just to stay out of the house. During summer, I worked or interned just to avoid her. Now I have a car and boyfriend since sophomore year. I stay with him a lot and his family loves me, so I'm barely home, maybe 24 hours at most weekly. My parents didn't care and this was my normal, so I stopped caring too. Anyway, graduation was last month, one of the few things I asked my parents to come to. I was excited. They seemed excited, and some relatives came too, but Princess had to ruin it. See, her current obsession are these doll plush keychains called Labubus. She collects them, and that specific day, she found this super rare one for sale in our city. Now, instead of contacting the seller and buying it the next day, my parents went to go get it and not only spent $350, my grad gift was $150. Then they showed up so late, our caps were already tossed. I was hurt. After graduation, I ignored them and went home with my boyfriend. I basically moved in with him at this point, since any time I went back home, it was to get my things to go back. My parents called, texted, and apologized, even came over and begged me to forgive them. Worst part of it all, they think that it's the money and sent me another $100. I refuse to talk to them. Now it's serious as they're threatening to report me as missing / a runaway and contact my future college if I don't go back home. I feel justified in my actions and don't think it's that serious, But am I the asshole? Absolutely not. Again, this is crazy. Like, I will never understand having children and just like absolutely prioritizing that kid, one of your kids, over the other, over anything else. You're just asking to have a spoiled brat as a child and another who was just so neglected and abused that they don't even want to speak to. Like, this is how it turns out. Why would they want to speak to you if you won't even give them the time of day? This is so sad. I am so sad by this. And yeah, I mean, her sister is like 10. Her parents kind of made her this way. The real assholes are the parents, and for not showing up and just like listening to everything that the 10-year-old is saying. I absolutely hate that. And with that, I'm gonna call it quits. I have a work meeting that I have to get into, otherwise I would read more comments and stuff, but I already know what everyone's gonna say. Obviously she's not the asshole. Obviously her parents suck. If you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. It genuinely means the world. I also want to say we just hit 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. I am beyond grateful. If you subscribed, thank you so much. Let me know if there's any subreddits you want me to look into. Let me know if there's any content you want me to make. I'm gonna be like kind of venturing out of the Reddit stories and making some like other types of content. And so let me know if you have any ideas. What do you want to see from me? And I'm just really excited for what's to come. And thank you so much for sticking around. I know I've already said this, but it means the world. It really does. I am so thrilled. I love reading your guys' comments. You guys are so sweet. And yeah. Bye, guys. Have a great day.